So we are going to finish 1-1. We're going to practice solving some equations with some fractions, and then we're going to talk about word problems. Okay, so with fractions, you can solve just keeping the fraction there, or if you want to, you can multiply by the LCD. If you multiply everything by the LCD, then it will get rid of your fractions, and it might make it a little bit easier. Okay, so for the first one, I'll do the LCD, and then the second one, I won't, and you can decide which way you want to do it. So I only have one denominator, so that means that my LCD is just 9. Good. Okay, so everything is being multiplied by 9. It is going to make your numbers a little bit bigger, but you get rid of the fractions this way. So 9 times negative 15 is negative 135. 9 times negative 2/9 is 2, negative 2, Q. And then 9 times negative 21 thank you, negative 189. Okay? Now we can solve this. What should I do? Add 135. So negative 189 plus 135 is negative 54. Divide by negative 2. Q equals positive 27. Be careful with your positives and negatives. It does say check your answer by substitution.
Excuse me, Ms. Cecil, could you please send Madison Heiser's check out of attendance, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm plugging this back into Q. It asks to show the check, so you have to write that down. Okay, so to make sure that your calculator calculates this right, you might need an extra set of parentheses there in the numerator. So type in the left side, make sure that you get negative 21 so we know that our answer is right. So this might be something you want to practice, is just do the checks and actually make sure you're typing it in your calculator right. Okay, so we type that in. We get negative 21. Yes. Okay. So I know my answer is correct. Alright. So for this problem, I'm not going to use LCD for number 30 here. You can. If you did want to use the least common denominator, what would it be? Between 6 and 8, it'd be 24. So you'd multiply every single term by 24 if you want to do that. I'm not going to. I'll just use fractions. Remember that we learned that when your variable's in the numerator, you can pull it out to the side. So if you pull it out to the side, I can't leave a numerator empty, so what's there? 1. So I can just write that as 1/6 Q plus 1 minus 3Q. Equals 2 minus 4Q, and then same thing here, plus 1/8 Q. And I'll just solve like normal, use your calculator because you're going to be dealing with fractions. So on the left side, I have, oh, I forgot my plus 1, sorry. There we go. I have like terms though, I have 1/6 Q and negative 3Q. So combine those. So 1/6 minus 3 will leave these as fractions. So that's negative 17 over 6 cubed plus 1. And then I have like terms here. So negative 4 plus 1/8 is negative 31 over 8 cubed. Okay, let's add. It doesn't matter which one you want to add. I'll do the 31 over 8 cubed. I'm going to go ahead and write that out, that step here. So showing the work here is going to be helpful for you if you're doing this on a test or a quiz. Not only to make sure that you're getting it right, but if you do mess up, then I can see where, and I can give you some more partial credit. Okay. So what do we get here? Yeah, someone help me, please. What was it? 25 over 24. Okay. Thank you. Subtract 1. And it's a fraction, so I'm not going to divide. I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So Q equals 24 over 25. All right, let's make sure that's correct. So the check is going to be a little bit weird because you have a fraction. But just plug it in exactly as it is. When you substitute something in, you put it in parentheses anyway. So I have 24 over 25 over 6 plus 1 minus 3 times 24 over 25. And I said that equals to 2 minus 4 times 24 over 25. And plus 24 over 25 over 8. All right, so type in the left side and tell me what you get. Okay, so as a fraction, negative 43, right, over 25. Is that what you got? Is that what you got? I think that's what it was. Okay. All right, now check the right. If it doesn't match up, check it again first before assuming your answer is wrong, because maybe you just typed the check in wrong. So check the check and then go back to your answer. Is it negative 43 over 25? Okay. So this answer is correct. It's not a pretty answer, but it's our answer and it's fine. I checked and made sure it was right. Okay? Questions about that? Alright, so if you had wanted to, you could have multiplied everything by 24 and got rid of the fraction. because that's the answer. But you wouldn't be dealing with fractions until the very end. So it's up to you on what you want to do. Okay, let's look at some word problems. So word problems with consecutive numbers. This is another thing that comes up on the ACT. It'll talk about consecutive integers or consecutive even integers or numbers. So first of all, integer are the positive, negative whole numbers. But then you need to know what the word consecutive means. So what does consecutive mean? What? Yeah, one right after the other, or in a row. Okay, so think of it consecutive as they have to be in a row. So for example, 3, 4, 5, those are consecutive numbers, or consecutive integers. If you were writing this out, like if you didn't know what the consecutive integers were, then you can represent the 3 consecutive numbers as n plus 1, and n plus 2. So n would be your first number. So if I look at this example here, if I look at the 3, so 3 is n, and then 4 would be 3 plus 1, and then 5 is 3 plus 2. So this is a way to represent 3 numbers in a row in a word problem. Okay, if you're looking for even or odd integers or numbers, then you're not going up 1 and up 2, you're going up 2 and up 4. Because if you start at 20 and you want 22, that's 20 plus 2. And then you want 24, that's 20 plus 4. You can think of the third one as the second one plus 2. So then it would be n plus 2 plus 2, which is n plus 4. It's the same thing with odd, because if I call n my first number, then the first number here is even, but let's say the first number is odd. All right, then what's the next odd number? 23. So how did I go from 21 to 23? What did I add? I added 2. So I know this seems weird, like maybe you think you need to put 1 and 3, but you don't. All right, you're putting 2 and 4 still because you're starting with an odd number. And then to go to 25, you're doing 21 plus 4, which is 25. Okay? All right, so let's do an example. Okay. Find 3 consecutive even integers. So after reading that first half sentence, I can write out my 3 even integers. So as n, and it's even, so the second one would be n plus 2. And then the third one would be n plus 4. So those are my 3 even integers. Okay, where the sum, so 3 even integers, where the sum, so I'm going to be adding, of triple the first. So the first even integer is n, so triple the first would be 3n, and so the sum of triple the first, and so that's where my plus comes in. Twice the second. So the second even integer is n plus 2, and if I'm doing twice, I'm multiplying by 2. Okay, but I gotta be careful here. I want to make sure the whole thing is multiplied by 2. So I have to do parentheses around the n plus 2. And then is. The next line is. So what is symbol is equals 8 more than, so I know I'm going to have a plus 8, 4 times the third. I'm going to put the plus 8 at the end. Since you're adding, it doesn't really matter. You could have 8 plus, but when you subtract, it has to go at the end. So if it had said 8 less than, that has to go at the end. So we'll just go ahead and put the plus 8 at the end too. So we know that if it's more than or less than, that should be at the end. Okay, 4 times the third, how will I write that? 4 parentheses n plus 4. Okay, now let's solve. Let's solve for n. So 3n plus 2n plus 4 equals 4n plus 16 plus 8. Combine your like terms on each side. 3n plus 2n is 5n. 16 plus 8 is 24. Subtract 4n from both sides. Okay, so 5n minus 4n is 1n. And then subtract 4. So n is 20. Now once you've solved for your variable, make sure you answer the question. Find 3 consecutive even integers. So what are my consecutive even integers? N is 20. So then 22 and 24. Okay. Questions about that? So once you have it set up and it's not too difficult to solve, it's a linear equation. And then once you have your answer, for your variable, make sure you answer the problem, what the question says. Find 3 consecutive even integers. So n is the first one, and that's 20. So then the second one is 22, and the third one is 24. Okay? All right, let's talk about mixture problems. So what I want to do is give the total amount of mix that results in the percent concentration or worth of mix. So to do mixture problems, we set it up like this. A plus B equals total. Okay, so where A is the first mix, and B is the second mix, and then the total is those combined. All right, so you're not going to just be adding 40 and 80% because that's 120%. All right, that doesn't make sense. You're over 100% there. So what we have to do is we have to take the amount. So for A and B, we're going to take are 40% acid. We'll take our amount of liquid and we'll multiply that by the percent of acid it is. So if I'm looking at the 40% acid, how much should I put in? 10 times. And I'm going to multiply that by its percent acid. And it's 40%. Remember, whenever we do math with percents, we have to change them to decimals. So 40% as a decimal is 0.4, 0.40. I'm going to write the 0.40. Okay, then B is our amount times the percent. And so that is 10 also. And then what percent acid is B? 80%, so 0.8 or 0.80. Okay, and then your total is the same thing. So total is your amount times the percent. Okay, so the total amount then, the total amount I've put in, I can figure that out right away. How much liquid have I put in? 20, right? 10 plus 10. But what I don't know is at what percent. So that's what I have to try to figure out. So let's set this up as A plus B plus total. So 10 times 0.4 plus 10 times 0.8 equals 10 plus 10 times x. Once you have that set up, this is a really simple equation to solve. So you're going to do 10 times 0.4, that's 4. 10 times 0.8, that's 8. And then 20x. So 12 equals 20x. So remember, we're trying to find a percent here, so it makes sense to get a decimal answer. So 12 divided by 20 is 0.6. So what percent? 60%. So the problem told me, give the total amount of mix that results. So I have 20 pints. And percent concentration. So 20 pints of what percent acid? 60% acid. Since you put in the same amount, right? We put in 10 of A, 10 of B. Then the percent just ended up being the average of these. So 40% and 80%, the average is 60%. So if you put in the same amount, then that's all you're doing, is the average of those. But you don't always, you're not always going to do the same amount there. Okay? All right, let's do another one. And this time we're not going to talk about percents and acids. We're going to be talking about a mixture here. And we're not talking about percent concentration, we're talking about the worth this time. I'm going to do A plus B equals total. So this time my A is the first type of feed that the ranger puts in. So that's custom feed blend. Right? And I'm still going to do the amount times, but now I'm not doing times the percent. I'm doing the worth. I'm doing how much it was. So amount times the worth. So how much, what's the amount of custom feed blend? 50. And the worth? $1.80. Okay? And then B is the cotton seed. Okay, so the amount is 50 and the worth is 60 cents. Okay? So A plus B equals total, so 50 times $1.80 plus 50 times 60 cents equals the total. So 50 plus 50. And I want to know then per pound what the worth is. So I can tell by looking the first part of the question, which says the total amount. I already know that, but I don't know the worth of the mix, like per pound. All right, so 50 times $1.80 is 90. 50 times 60 cents is 30, and then 100x. Okay, divide by 100. Okay, so let's answer the question. The total would be, the total amount is 100. Good, 100 pounds worth. How much? 1.2 is my answer, so it's worth $1.20 per pound. Okay. Good. Questions about that? Again, you put in the same amount, 50 and 50. So this 1.2 is just the average of $1.80 and 60 cents. Okay, we're going to do another mixture problem, but this time we're going to be looking for not just the worth or the percent. We're going to be looking for something else. Okay. So the two things I'm mixing together are the peanuts and the raisins. So I have my amount times the worth. So how many pounds of peanuts am I putting in? We don't know, so X. So if I do amount times the worth, I don't know, so it's X times the worth, which is, for peanuts, $1.29. raisins. How many pounds of raisins? 20. And the worth? $1.89. Okay, so A plus B equals total. So 1.29x. Actually, I'm going to keep it like this for now. Plus 20 times 1.89 equals my total amount. Well, I don't know what x is, so my total amount is x plus 20. So x plus 20 is my total amount. And I know that worth is what? What do I want the total worth to be? $1.49. So can we all see why I have my variable in a different place this time? Right, it's not asking me to find the total worth. It's asking me to find how many peanuts did you start with to get this total worth. Okay, so $1.29x plus 20 times 1.89 is, thank you. And then I got to distribute this 1.49, so 1.49x plus 37.8. Oh no, sorry. Yep, thank you. What is it? 29.8? Thanks. Okay, I subtract if I want to put my variable on the left. So if I subtract 1.49 from 1.29, I get negative 0.2. And then 29.8 minus 37.8 is negative. Okay? Divide by negative 0.2. Negative 8 divided by negative 0.2 is 40. So we need to answer the question. How many pounds of peanuts? So 40 pounds of peanuts. Okay? Questions about that? All right, we're going to look at a different type. We're going to talk about uniform motion. So this is a time sign. So the motion formula is distance equals rate times time. So to do these motion type problems, you have to know that distance equals rate times time. So that's what the D, the R, and the T stand for. So rate is R, T is time, and D is distance. So a plane flying at 300 miles per hour has a 3-hour head start on a chase plane, which has a speed of 800 miles per hour. So I have two different distance equals rate times time. I have two different equations here. I have one for the first plane and one for the chase plane. So for the first plane, I don't know the distance. Do I know the rate? What's the rate? Good. Do I know the time? What has a 3-hour head start, but I don't know the time. How far from the airport will the chase plane overtake the first plane? So I don't know at what time that happens either. So right now I'm at T. I'm just going to put a little T there. Okay, now let's talk about the chase plane. Again, I don't know the distance. What's the rate of the chase plane? 800. So I want these to represent the same thing, these variables to represent the same. I don't want this distance to be a different distance than this. And when it asks me how far from the airport will the chase plane overtake the first plane, that's when their distances are the same, right? That's when they would meet. They'd be the same distance from the airport. So this first D and this second D are the same. They represent the same distance. And I want this T to represent the same time. Okay, so if I say that the first plane has been flying for 8 hours, how many hours has the chase plane been flying? 5, because this one got a 3-hour head start. So how did you get 5? You did 8 minus 3. So if this is T, then this time would be T minus 3. All right, I know that their distances are the same, but I don't know what that distance is yet. That's what I'm trying to get to, but I can't find a distance until I'm able to find T, until I'm able to find time. All I know is that these are the same. So what we have is that D equals 300T, which equals D, which equals 800 times T minus 3. So I can just take out the D's and have 300T equals 800T minus 3. So 800T minus 2400. If I subtract 800, I get negative 500T equals negative 2400. Again, with the word problems, the decimals are fine as long as you're not having to round. But those should be exact. So what do we get? 4.8. T is time, so what label is that? Hours. Let's make sure we answer our question. The question said how far. So 4.8 hours, does that represent how far? No. So I have to plug that back in for T, and you can use either equation. You can use this one from the first plane or the one from the chase plane. The first plane is easier because you're just multiplying by 300. So 300 times 4.8. 4.8. $14.40. Okay. So it will be 1,440. What label? Miles from the airport. Okay. Questions about that? So these can be a little tricky to set up, right? So you should look at some of these. Hold on. I just want to look at the next one. We won't finish it, but we at least can talk about setting it up. 3 consecutive consecutive odd numbers whose sum is 57. So what's my first odd number? What am I going to use to represent that? N. And then the second one? Plus 2. Good. And then the third one? And plus 4. And all I want is their sum is 57. So I'm just adding them all together. Remember, when you add, you don't have to use parentheses, okay? Only if you were having to multiply. That's all you have to do is set that up. Okay? All right.